And Manelisi Dubase sat down for an exclusive interview with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Baleka Mbete, before the House adjourned for the year. Mbete speaks candidly about some of the issues which Parliament either dealt with or failed to get under the knee this year. These included Parliament's handling of the Nkandla report, relationships between parties and their MPs, as well as the inquiry into the fitness of the SABC Board, which resumes early next year.
An issue coming out of the first report is pursued by the relevant ministry or minister, in fact, to be specific, of police, doing further work to probe the areas that had been highlighted by the public protector's report. And he comes back with his own report of what he found, which, of course, everybody else then made a lot of noise about it. And we again created an ad hoc committee which further looked into that second report. The rest is history. Now, it seems it's a matter around which members of the media are so, they cannot get over the fact that...
Why didn't you take it for a review, Madam Speaker? It's simple as that.
It's not for Parliament to take it for a review. It's not for us to do that.
It is, Madam Speaker.
Now, if we are going to be debating this thing forever and ever, I don't know.
Well,
I would like to suggest that there's a lot more that happened in Parliament, that happened in politics.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. Let's get over that. Then the audience would make its own mind on that. Yes. You've spoken about the SABC. Obviously, as a responsibility or part of your responsibility, is to oversight or is to check and provide check and balances, even in state-owned enterprises. Sure. You talk about the SABC, PRASA, ESCOM, you name them. Are you satisfied that you have done your job adequately in that regard?
In that regard, there is ongoing right now hearings in Parliament through an ad hoc committee chaired by the Honourable Vincent Smith. And I think we should wait for it to do its job, because part of what we, in my view, where we bungle is this thing of preempting processes that are already still, underway. In other words, we don't have an outcome yet, but we can see in the past few days there have been...
Right, Madam Speaker. But one of another problem that you as parliamentarians, I think you have, is that you allow these things to happen over time and catch them when they're really dismal. The case in point is this one you're talking about of the SABC. Do you take part of the blame, given part of the evidence you have had at the SABC? Do you take part of the blame as Parliament that your oversight was lacking here?
I do not think that we should preempt the work that has started. I think let's wait until the process is over, and then we will get a report. Then you can determine what you think, where things have maybe slowed down or we didn't keep on our toes, because there is a portfolio committee that is directly relating to the SABC in terms of communications as a ministry and portfolio in government. That has a portfolio committee this side.
Let me put it the other way. Are you aware what's going on in these parastatals?
The various portfolio committees would each have a closer scrutiny to parastatals that relate to ministries over which the portfolio committees, exercise oversight. And I think that they tend to have a lot more information and understanding and insight into the issues that are happening there than the rest of us who don't deal with those portfolio committees on a daily basis. So again, it's only when there's been an issue that we all, become alert and we hear, what are the developments, what are they telling us, and then out of that we can gain better understanding of the issues or the weaknesses or the strengths or whatever it is about the processes of the relations between the various structures of government.
Okay, let's go to what you are so keen to talk about, the legislation. Opposition parties, over time have been saying that you tend to protect the executive more than fulfilling the role of the legislation itself. Do you think they are unfair?
Opposition parties are part of every process that happens here in Parliament. They are in the portfolio committees where they work with every other party. There are 13 parties here in Parliament, and all of them are allowed to make an input into legislation that's being handled by each and every portfolio committee. So there's no issue there. But you've got to understand that in politics, there'll always be noise. Politics is very noisy.
So they're just politics.
It's part of what you must get used to. Sometimes they're politicking because, in fact, sometimes they agree in the portfolio committee, but when they come to the House, they make noise. But the actual relations and everyday processing of legislation and policies in portfolio committees is a much more constructive exercise than what in fact gets reported or how it looks when people are making noise in the House.
So they are being dishonest when they arrive in the House?
Maybe they are being dishonest, or they are being dramatic, or they are being very robust, whatever it is they think they are doing, but it's part of politics.
Let's talk about the legislation that to pass. Are you satisfied that it can pass the constitutional muster?
I think legislation that has been passed by the majority of members is legislation that has been processed as far and as much as it can possibly ever be processed. Once members agree on it in the House, it means they've done the best they could on them. There might then be a party that disagrees with a certain part of the piece of legislation, but it moves on, it goes to the other House, and it goes through, of course, the necessary constitutional processes of ensuring that there is public participation.
Exactly. So the president now is being unreasonable by not signing some of this legislation. For instance, FICA.
I believe there are some issues there. In fact, I got a call from someone who sounds like they come from an NGO that were part of making an input into that legislation. It's fine. You know, when people disagree, it does not mean that the heavens have fallen. All it means is they perhaps have not adequately engaged. And right now, we're busy trying to get the chair of the portfolio committee that's dealing with FICA with these outside parties that called us to say we're not satisfied with the way the matters have been presented.
With due respect, me and you, we know how the legislation functions. There was public hearings where they were free to come. They can't come after the fact. It's clear as that.
No.
Otherwise, you're setting a bad precedent, aren't you?
No. I don't think there's any bad precedent. Remember, we never close the door on anything.
No, absolutely. But now the bill has been finalized. It's in the desk of the president. Why would somebody come outside and say, I want to take it from scratch?
And people do all the time. So they've done that, and they are saying they need to be assisted to engage with the portfolio committee members because they feel that they are not being fully understood and would like rather an opportunity before processes go any further. I don't want to say. No, I don't know. So I was called by a member of the public.
Madam Speaker, on that note, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete speaking exclusively to Senior Parliamentary Correspondent Manelisi Dubase.